Hello and welcome to another episode of the Embodied Union podcast. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Charlie.
And today we're going to be saying and talking about therapy doesn't work.
Therapy doesn't work, couples therapy doesn't work, and they are really bold statements coming from two people who are building their careers around being therapists and working in a relationship. But we do see it time and again where therapy falls short and couples therapy doesn't hit the mark.
Yeah, because it's thinking like the way I sort of think about it is like I'm hearing the rhetoric that, oh, therapy doesn't work, couples therapy doesn't work, therapy isn't isn't effective. And
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there just having such a different experience of it for myself. And I'm like, oh, of course. It's like saying steak is chewy. It's like, yeah, if you cook it bad or you buy the wrong cut, it's like, it's how you cook it, So I think it's the same thing with therapy. It's like, how is it being served up? How is the product, like how's the person coming in? How's the client? And how's the therapist?
Yeah, because I think it is both, like when I think about our work as therapists, like we see great results, but I also, as our work as a couple that goes into therapy, we get great results working with our therapist. So it's how is the therapist serving up the steak and how are the clients ordering it?
Totally.
What restaurant are they walking into?
Yeah, exactly. So where do we start? Where would be a good place for this? Because it's like a lot of people have pitfalls around this. They're coming into, especially, and if we're going to speak more specifically about couples therapy,
Yeah.
like what are the pitfalls that that you see that people are coming into probably having some type of agenda about what they're trying to get?
Yeah, so I think that probably the most common is that a couple come into therapy and one or both are holding the attitude of fix my partner. My partner is the problem. I need you to see my story, fix this. And that attitude does not, it gets couples in the door.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to work with that attitude because that attitude does not serve progress in therapy. Do you want to add more into that?
Yeah. And it's like, I think most people that are having that experience that's their partner, like sure, your partner might really have an addiction or have something happening.
Has their part to play.
Absolutely. We have our part to play in any relationship, but it's sort of putting that onto them like somehow I'm going to fix them or I want my therapist, like I've been trying to fix them for so long that now I want you to try and fix them as the therapist.
Yes.
To try and do that. It just creates so much resistance in the whole system.
Well, like when you think about a couple coming in with that attitude, what are the qualities? Like there's no curiosity there. That person is quite righteous. This is what's happening. This is how they're being. And that lack of curiosity also blocks the therapeutic process.
Absolutely. Lack of curiosity. The blame sort of instantly creates a natural defense mechanism in the other person.
If I'm telling you you're doing this, you're going to be in some version of defense.
Correct.
Yes.
And like the person that's sort of saying that their partner has a problem is also like dishing it out in some type of name, blame or shame. So it's often like from a space of either contempt or criticism. Frustration, of course. Blame.
There's a righteousness, and as we know, like there's no room for really righteousness in partnership. I think the thing that we always come back to is, yes, your partner might be doing or saying things or not doing or not saying things, and that is problematic, but it's always the dynamic. The fact that the two of you are together and you're choosing to stay together, there is something happening between the two of you that's being reinforced. And when we're just hyper-focused on our partner, we can't see the whole thing, we can't see the dynamic, and we also can't see our part. And if we cannot see our part, therapy cannot progress.
So true, so true. And I sort of see this as well for couples, that the person that feels like it's their partner's fault, it seems like, I don't know why this is so common, but it's like it's got to be someone's fault. And that to me, just like, I've never really had that experience of myself personally that I feel like it's someone's fault. It's more just like, because what I see happens is, well, if it's not your fault, because that's what I think it is, it's really your fault, it's your fault, you're the reason, you're the problem, that I watch the person that does that go, oh, well, then it's my fault, and then fully collapses into shame or into a spiral of their own. And it's, neither is helpful, because it's not either person's fault. If we take the fault out of it, then we can actually start to be curious, because fault implies that there's right or wrongness. And to me, fault is a child part. It's a really young part, that it's
Very black and white, isn't it?
Yeah, and often a black and whiteness is often a child part or an immature part that can't see nuance.
Can't hold the bigger picture.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons why our therapy, when we go and see our couples therapist, the reason why we have such a great experience is because even if I'm sitting in, you are doing something that is triggering me, I am more curious around why that impacts me so much. Like, what is it that I have? What is the woundedness that I hold? What's the sensitivity that I have that's making me feel really insecure when I hear you speak to that person? Mm-hmm. You know, like, I'm not going in there to say, he's being inappropriate. I might feel like there's something, but it's like, wow, that really hits up against something inside of me. And I want to look at that. And like, I feel like that kind of attitude, like, it doesn't mean that you have to stay in a relationship and tolerate abusive behavior or inappropriate behavior or shitty behavior. You might still come with this line of inquiry, like, what is my part here? And recognize it's like, oh my goodness, like, I am so in this people pleasing, appeasing, that I'm allowing this behavior. But that self-inquiry lets me get to why it is I choose to be here. And I might still choose to leave. I might still come to the awareness of like, oh, this is a challenge I don't accept. But it's still a more valuable way to approach therapy. What is my part here? Because I'm going to learn something about me that either will have me open my heart into the relationship or have me realize I need to leave.
Totally. And I think what you're sort of saying there, which I think is like valuable, is we're kind of demonstrating what doesn't work and then why it does work for us.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that kind of can help titrate between having like a fix my partner kind of attitude or they're to blame to a more, how can I see my part?
Help me understand myself more.
Yes.
Because I'm a participant. I'm a collaborator in this.
I'm an ingredient in this
I'm
soup.
an ingredient. And it really, like also, I can still really feel like it's a Lindsay thing, but I have enough evidence now that therapy works when I can put that down and look at myself. That moves me closer towards what I want, which is more openness and compassion in our relationship. And for some people, it would be giving them the insight that they actually probably should leave.
Totally. And I think, so if we would come back to sort of what maybe doesn't work is when we come into therapy, when we're too identified in a state.
And this is often when couples will come to therapy. We were talking about this before, like often when Lindsay and I come into therapy, we're not entering the room mad. It's like, oh, this thing is kind of happening and we want to kind of understand it. But often couples come in and each individual is so drowning in their version of events. Like they're so in their frustration, they're so in their resentment, they're so in their contempt that they have, and when you're so identified in a state, you have blind spots and you cannot see them.
You have tunnel vision as to how right you are. Like it's basically you're looking through a pinprick is the way I sort of describe it. It's like there's no curiosity, there's righteousness, there's blindness, there's lots of activation. And like, can you do therapy in that state? You know, it's like you kind of can't even talk about the content of what's happening. It's about the state at that point and coming back to being resourced.
Yeah, I think a skilled therapist in that situation, the job is to notice that both people are so identified in their state, which is their belief, their story, their feeling. And how can the therapist help the individual recognize, not that you're right or wrong, but that you're in a state right now and we need to kind of take a step. We need to be beside the state, looking at it, witnessing it. Oh my God, there is a part of me that's so frustrated, rather than I'm so fucking frustrated and it's your fault. It's like, oh, this is. So I think when you have a skilled therapist, they're helping you kind of shift from being so identified to observing yourself.
Compassionate observer.
Compassionately observing what's happening inside of you. And then you can work with the dynamic.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's just, and like that of itself. And that's why I think sometimes it's, if the clients are coming in with an agenda.
As in fix my partner?
Well, yeah, in this session, we need to work on this thing, or you need to tell me that what they did was wrong and I need you to tell them that it was wrong and I really have that outcome that I want.
Yeah.
And I'm not actually with the state that I'm in, and we need to like work on the state first. The state is kind of more important to create long-term, curiosity, because once the session is over, you go back to your own life, and that is a big part of it that I sort of see for couples is they're coming in hoping that there's going to be this fix. And of course, as we know, I think it's like, is it 90% of couples come to therapy when it's kind of almost too late? I think there's some really
there's too
high...
much resentment. There's no goodwill left. Both are in contempt and both are just sitting in there's a hopelessness.
Yeah.
And that is the sad truth. Most couples don't reach out until it is past the point, which is why we always recommend couples entering into therapy as soon as there's a bump, so you can clean as you go, and I think
you both know there is stuff there that you have got already, and it's like, how are you and your partner going to gel together? Sooner that you're starting to have this level of awareness and curiosity, the sooner that it can be better.
For sure. I think it's like we teach so many skills around repair and self-revealing and communication when there has been rupture. And one of the rules that we have is that you don't really try to have these conversations when you are both so identified in your triggered state. So I think mapping that kind of rule across the therapy, if you're going into therapy together and you are both so in your trigger, so in your identified state, it's like we're not going to try and battle this out. We actually need to reach a place of resource, curiosity, mindfulness, self-awareness first before we just continue this conversation. Because fighting on that, it's kind of like fighting on the surface without attending to what's driving the fact that you are both so triggered.
Correct.
It never gets you anywhere.
Well, it only works on the surface level stuff. And this kind of leads me to one of the biggest points that I see missing fundamentally in either therapy or in couples therapy. And sure, I have a bias to the Hakomi method, but it's mindfulness.
Yes.
Because what I sort of see here is that having the conscious awareness of something, like having the insight, like perfect example that we'll always use in strength conditioning or in the fitness industry is everyone knows how to lose weight. You eat less and you exercise more. But do you think people do that? It's like people know and still it doesn't make a difference. Like if I know I'm anxiously attached, great, but that doesn't actually help me with my anxious attachment. It just names it, hence why labeling and cognitive awareness is only one part of it, because what I'm always trying to explain to clients is how you are organized internally and how you became who you are is all through experience. And so if you're in therapy reporting and being just like conscious but not working with the unconscious or subconscious, you're basically just reporting what is, and you don't change that because you're not having a different experience. You're just reporting on something. And that's why doing something like a somatic psychotherapy allows, each individual to get fully immersed and get into their experience. And it might be a past experience, that they can actually see it in a new way or a different way. Like, my thought around it is, if you're having a real time experience in therapy, then that is often where curiosity, aliveness, and something new can happen with each other. Like, often that's where it changes. Like, if I'm in my absolute tender experience, I know that because I'm in therapy with you, that you have a different experience of even me. Like, it shifts something in you when I'm in my experience deeply.
So let's give an example, so maybe we can draw on something that happened in our own therapy session yesterday.
Yeah.
So Lindsay and I go to therapy and we're speaking about fears and overwhelm and responsibility that could come up with me going into labor.
Correct.
And being in birth. And we could talk about that on the surface around, okay, how should we manage Charlotte's overwhelm? What are some strategies for Lindsay? And we could stay up here in this conscious cognitive level of discussion, and we might come up with some solutions, but we're not actually getting to drop into the part of Lindsay that's feeling like, wow, this is a big responsibility, or me feeling like this is overwhelming. So somatic therapy invites a level of mindfulness where we go into our bodies, and you actually had a really beautiful session exploring like the actual feelings that you have around the birth. And maybe you want to give some context around what that was actually like for you.
Yeah, well, I'll stick to that because there was other parts that I wanted to mention. But yeah, like, when I was in there, I really got to have the realization for me is it was around responsibility. And, there's a part of me that's trying to, like, my thought was in the therapy session, this is where I had like a bit of an agenda, was that I really want to have myself be able to hold Charlotte better during birth in case she gets too overwhelmed. Because when she's really overwhelmed, I tend to shut down. And I had a fear that if I shut down as her support person during childbirth, that would create like a separation between us two. And I really didn't want to do that. So our therapist really had me explore my responsibility around that and really feeling into like what it feels like to feel really responsible. And I had a huge shift in awareness around recognizing that my relationship to responsibility is actually from a childhood place. It was being the man of the house at 5 or 6 years old, and recognizing that the way I look at responsibility is almost from the child, kind of overcompensating or parentifying his responsibility. So I'm really good at responsibility. Like, as an adult man, I'm really good at it. I really try, I really make an effort. But the energy behind it was always, I'm trying to do it from a place of like under-resourced, or it's almost like out of my scope of capacity.
So you'd often feel overwhelmed, you'd often feel overburdened, you'd often have like, you are responsible, but there is this energy of like, this is too much.
Yes.
Because the child was holding responsibility.
Correct.
And so you got to access another part of you, like an adult part.
Yeah, well, when he invited me into sort of like, if there was like the adult version of Lindsay or more of like a wise man, I just had this really like almost out of body experience, because in my mind I was kind of by the birthing pool in the image that I had of like the future of what it's going to be like. And then when this part came in, it was like my whole body just kind of separated. I used the analogy of the red birds in the David Bowie's Labyrinth, where they were kind of like the heads popped off and my arms sort of floated away, and I just felt really discombobulated for a while there. But I got to stay in the experience and explore it. Like, that was the best part about it. And it's not to say I've been acting like a child or any of that. It's just I didn't even know what was going to happen in the session. And that's the beauty of, I believe, of somatic psychotherapy, is that like my conscious agenda was, how do I support Charlotte better, is how I came into the session, so we can stay in connection. And then where we got to was somewhere completely different. And it was way better. It was actually way better than I thought. I wasn't sitting there during all of this going, how is this going to fix Charlotte at any point? It was more like I got to be so immersed in having a different experience that responsibility feels like somehow different.
You said, I feel like I have another gear.
Yes.
It's like Lindsay suddenly had access to this other gear inside of himself, this like adult wise man who's like, I can be responsible with the energy of a man, which it's for a child responsibility. The responsibility of birth especially is like completely overwhelming. But as an adult man, which I now have this new gear, I can do that.
Yeah, like my voice got deeper.
Yeah.
Like
he sat up taller, like
yeah.
his whole like his posture was different. And when he opened his eyes and he looked at me and he's like, I've got you. I was like rocked to my core with how true that felt from him. Like Lindsay will say that to me all the time. And I'm like, I believe you, but this felt completely different. So somatic work, by accessing mindfulness, accessing the body, accessing his experience of responsibility, feeling too much, and then finding this wise part, allowed something to reorganize.
It was wild.
And like you can't get to these places if you're coming into therapy saying, fix Charlotte because she gets overwhelmed and I don't know how to hold that.
Oh my God. Like just... yeah, it just, no wonder it doesn't work, is because it's like, yeah, it's there instead of somewhere where it actually could be helpful. It's just different realms, completely different realms.
Yes.
All using mindfulness. And this is...
You have to be able to utilize mindfulness because you need to be in your body studying. Like I sat there for an hour pretty much watching Lindsay and his process, just like witnessing, oh, there's this really young part. Oh, it feels a bit much. Oh, something is changing. And like you can't do that from your head. You can't, it's not even visualization. It's very somatic.
It really is. It really is. And I think that's where I sort of see therapy falling short often, is that there's not mindfulness.
It's cognitive, it's solution-based, it's really like...
Coachy.
It's coaching, dressed up as therapy. And like, I think there sometimes is a place for coaching. Like we still teach the Embodied Union program, which is lots of, let us teach you the skills of relationships, very coachy.
Yep.
But it comes alongside, let's also do the deep therapeutic work, because coaching is kind of like a Band-Aid. It will give you skills and tools, but you're still operating on top of your material, which dictates how you feel when you go into overwhelm, or when you have a triggered response, or when your partner says something that you don't like. Like, we need to deal with these parts, which we believe you cannot access unless you utilize mindfulness to open the door, to step inside the body and explore yourself.
Yeah, because I don't know how many times I've kind of described that to people of, unless you're having the experience, like your experience in life is what created the internal belief and structure in the first place. And then being in mindfulness allows the person to explore that experience and have a new experience and reorganize core beliefs. And it's never from a place of like
it's why you can't
awareness.
just tell someone like, you are worthy, you're so enough. Okay, thank you for telling me. I'm going to take that on and I'm going to believe it. It's like you can't, that doesn't stick.
Are you trying to tell me that affirmations don't work?
Affirmations are bullshit. And they're a nice gesture. They're a nice gesture. Like, our thoughts can create our reality, but really we have to be working with the deeper parts of ourselves, which we will not access through talk therapy. Absolutely. And we will not access through thinking our partner is just a narcissist and disorganized attachment and whatever. It's like, wow, what's the part of me? Your partner might be a narcissist, but what is it about you that has you attract a narcissist, stay with a narcissist, and continue to be in this dynamic?
Yeah.
You know, figure that out, because that will actually get you out of the relationship quicker than you trying to be like, he's a narcissist, he needs to change. No. Come home to yourself.
Always.
Figure out your part.
There was something else in that, it was sort of talking about, I think there's a real, and I don't know if this is for today, but there's a real misunderstanding of what somatic is.
I saw a post recently, yesterday, that was saying somatic work will not heal attachment wounds, relational wounds. And I would love to know what this person means when they say somatic work, because somatic basically means body. So if you're talking about maybe body-based practices like more embodiment, like dance or breath work or shaking, then I agree that those kind of somatic practices will not heal your attachment wounding. But there is such a big difference between somatic self-care and somatic therapy, which is everything that we have just highlighted in this podcast.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. It, like, anytime that someone says like somatic work doesn't work, it kind of has me just understand that they actually don't know what somatic is.
They don't know what somatic therapy is.
Yes, and it's just, it's a really odd one, and of course it's not...
We are biased.
Well, we're going to hold some bias because we've actually studied for years on this stuff and know what it does. But I think there's just like a real deeper misunderstanding or misunderstanding of the scope of what it is.
Yeah. Because I totally agree. If you wake up every morning and you have a shaking practice and you discharge energy from your nervous system, or you have a rage release and you hit pillows, or you do some somatic breath work, I don't think that is going to solve your problems. I think you can change your state. I think you can move energy, but I don't think you can do deep healing work with those practices. But
Well, that was interesting too, because it's like a lot of guys that have done sort of like, for example, like a rage release, they are really supportive. They can be really helpful.
Yes.
But because they don't have mindfulness, that when we have catharsis, we can actually be dissociated.
Yes.
And so catharsis can have us feel really relieved, but then there's no actual shifting of
the
like
pieces of the cogs.
Yeah, that like it feels good, it changes the state, but it doesn't reorganize core beliefs about something because there's not the mindfulness to connect it to the core beliefs. It's just actually more of a state change.
Yes, and that can be so helpful,
Correct.
Like if someone has suppressed tons of rage or whatever the emotion might be, like to take the lid off the pressure cooker is going to benefit your body if you're held well and there's integration, and like also being witnessed in your feelings is really important and can be beneficial. But it's when you're deeply immersed in your mindfulness process and you're like, oh my God, there's a part of me that is holding so much rage and there's an impulse to like hit, and I'm going to like explore and play with it. And it's like the child in you gets to have the missing experience of like pushing away the parent that was abusive, like whatever it is. Something in that shifts something so deeply.
And I think that's what I'm trying to get at, is that when we do it in mindfulness using, say, the Hakomi method, you don't need to have integration after, because you're actually having the integration while it's in real time in the experience itself.
Yes.
You're actually understanding and making meaning and shifting something in real time.
You're getting insight.
Yeah.
Like often when you go see a coach, and I can be guilty of this, because we seal lots of pieces for people, we'll give them insight, we'll give them the gold, we'll give them the meaning making. But when you're doing deep mindfulness therapy work, your own insights are spontaneously arising, and that is what creates the shift. If you're working with somebody and they're telling you, this is what happened and this is why and this is the gold, you might be like, oh my God, that's amazing. I understand something about myself deeper. It won't actually change anything.
Nope.
But the spontaneous like insight is actually what creates such a shift in your entire system. Like I watched you yesterday, it's like all these light bulbs were kind of going off. It was like watching you put this puzzle piece together.
It was like a massive lot of pieces everywhere, and it was like one piece just connected so much stuff together. And as if I haven't done work already on responsibility, but it was like in the experience, it was something different.
But not once did our therapist say, well, not once did our therapist impart their meaning making on you. They just kept guiding you and following you in such a beautiful way. And you were like, oh, this thread. And I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. I just so appreciate that. It's not about telling. As a good therapist, it's all about the space holding and letting the client come to their own conclusion and self-awareness and mindfulness themselves. And I think that's why for couples, it's recognizing that when we're in, coming back to this, is when we're in couples therapy, we're really trying to keep what's alive and what's happening for ourselves in this. And even if my partner is doing some deep work that potentially even could be triggering, they could be talking about something that around like they don't desire me, or that whatever it might be that's coming up, it's how can I have compassion for that person, and how can I hold compassion for myself in that moment as well, and stay curious, stay so curious.
Which can be really hard when you're really identified in a triggered state. So it's like getting to learn how to work with those triggered parts of yourself. And that's part of our job, you know, like when we have clients and couples, we get to teach you how to do mindfulness. We get to give you like psychoeducation around like what mindfulness is, what it means to witness your parts, what it means to be working with your own triggers. But just know that the attitude you bring into therapy determines like really the outcome. Like a great therapist will guide and teach, but coming in with blame and contempt and it's him or it's her, and like that is not going to get you the result that you want.
No, and I see that often, that it's even, there's, you know, the person's actually already out the door.
Often.
One foot's already out the door, and they're using this as like, well, maybe, you know, and if they change, or if my partner does X, Y, Z, then maybe
I might put that other foot back in, but we'll see.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, even that.
That's why you got to come to therapy before you get to that point, you know, because Lindsay and I sit there in our frustration and our triggered states, and there's like, I'm all in 100%, which allows me to be like, can I open myself to this part of you that I'm so in conflict with? Yes, because I want to be here. It's not easy, but I choose to be here.
Yes. And know full well that whatever I leave in this relationship is, I'm taking it with me to the next one.
Guarantee it.
Guaranteed. So that's why it's like, am I willing to work on this regardless? It's like, yes. So I'm here right now with someone who's willing. Great, let's do that. You know, and I think that's the thing that makes therapy for couples work, is that willingness. The willingness.
Goodwill is still intact.
Yeah. Anything else, my love?
I don't think so. That feels like a lot. Don't you reckon?
Yeah.
Just to name, what are we? 40 weeks in one day.
Yes.
So we snuck a podcast in. My due date has come and gone, and so we were happy.
We're on borrowed time.
We're on borrowed time now, but it was great to just sneak one in.
Yeah. If you want to contact me or reach out for couples therapy or individual therapy, it's at Lindsay B, and we can sit down and have a little bit of a chat about what's happening and what the plan might be. And we also have the embodied union program that's going to continue. So if you're in a relationship that's thriving and you want it to go even higher than where it is right now, and want the skills and tools and resources to develop it further, then that program's definitely for you. If you're in a relationship and it is the one that you want to be in, but it's hard right now, then we can also offer the embodied union program plus therapy sessions alongside that for extra support. And I think that is one amazing program to be a part of if you're in a relationship.
Yes. And my books are closed, but I will be running the Art of Relationship training for women in July, and I'm still part of the embodied union experience. So you can contact me. I am Charlie S. Hannah.
All right, team. Thank you. I love you, my love.
Love you, my love.
Kiss me.